Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of A Moment of Honor with the Sanctuarian. Today, I am so privileged to have Miss Lynn Young joining us today. How are you, Lynn?
Oh, Jocelyn, it's great to be here. It's just great to be here. I'm
I'm
great.
so excited to have you, and I love we're both rocking the red lipstick today.
There
We've
we
got that
are.
vibrant red
Yeah.
going. Yes, absolutely. So one of the things I really wanted to focus on with this series this year is really honoring the good work that my clients are doing. So can you give our audience a little insight on the work that you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a personal and professional coach. That was the me. And actually, before the pandemic, I was doing executive and leadership coaching, live in rooms with an organization
Mhm.
here in town, Fabulous Center for Creative Leadership. And the pandemic hit, and poof,
Yeah.
everything just kind of disappeared, at least in the live programming land. And
Mhm.
so out of that was born the cool thing that I'm doing now, in addition to personal and professional coaching, is a movement, a program. Really, it's more fun than all that. It's the Badass Sagers. And we meet in salons. And Badass Sagers are basically women who weren't born yesterday and who are so not done and who are up to good in the world and who know the great benefit of circling up with other women and sparking each other. So I launch and host private salons for those women, and they're all virtual, they're online, and people are all over the country and the world, and it's just a great weekly creative, I was going to say play space, but it's more than that. It's synergistic. It's, you know, it's like stuff happens, real stuff happens, just, like when
Yes,
women get together.
absolutely. Well, and I love that though the pandemic really changed the way a lot of
Mhm.
us do work from, especially when you were used to doing things live in
Yeah.
person in rooms, traveling all over, and now it's
Mhm.
primarily a virtual space, and you were able to create something as beautiful as the badass teachers out of that, and really being able to give these women kind of that safe space to know that they're going to be growing and learning from it and connecting with other
Yeah.
like-minded women, I think is amazing. um, so speaking of the pandemic, one of the things you mentioned was changing from that live in room kind of presentations into the virtual. Have you seen kind of a change in the way that you do connect with the clients now that it is on a virtual basis?
Well, I think I had done some Zoom before, of course.
Mhm.
But now I think there's a shift into people realizing that it can be really powerful and really intimate in a Zoom space. And at
Mm.
first, people were, you know what I mean, a little bit like, yeah, well, that's, but it's not really real. It's so real. And it's so intimate in that space. Powerful, really.
Yeah.
So one is a change in assumptions, mine and others, about the impact that can
Mhm.
happen right here when and then of course the ease of that.
Mm.
Like people can just click a button and be in the room and not have to leave home. It's very safe, obviously, but it's
Yes.
also tremendously convenient. And if I was doing it live in person, then it would be people here with me, for instance, in Colorado Springs,
Mhm.
Colorado. But this is now the ability for people to connect all over the country and world. So that's really more interesting and fun when you think about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and I love that fact that it really does broaden the reach and the awareness and the impact that you can really have with your work, with it being virtual. And I also feel like the referral or the sharing of your work
Yeah.
of those you work with, it makes it easier that way too, because again, a lot of us are doing these virtual calls, we're doing these virtual workshops. Sometimes they're recorded, sometimes they're not, and we're able to share them in various different ways, where in a live room you have to be there to get it, and
Mhm.
so, and we're giving more opportunities to the work that we're doing with it being virtual, and I think
Yeah.
that's a great thing to do. um, Now, what are some tips or advice that you would give someone who is looking for a personal or business coach?
Uh-huh. Yeah. So first of all, you're in charge, like you, the person hiring the person, are in charge. And so um kind of that permission to have it feel like a fit. And
Yeah.
honestly, that's advice for hiring a personal or business coach. It's also advice for any other element of our lives, like that permission to say, listen to your intuition, um,
Mhm.
connect with a few, see which one feels like it just sparks you from the inside out,
Yeah.
where it feels like, oh yeah, like that, like that's me, that's the glove, that's what I'm looking for. In we go. And I guess I would say someone who you know will challenge you enough. I mean, nobody's hiring a coach because they want to stay the same,
Mhm.
you know, and coaches, good coaches will, it's not, up to the coach to decide, but the coach will, together with the client, decide what they're up to and what's next, and then hold them accountable and, you know, roll out, basically out and have things be happening. So, yeah, it's like a little bit like I think it should feel a little bit like some wake up kind of
Mhm.
energy, not like, oh, this is so wonderful, so comfortable. I'm going to go there and do my same old comfortable thing. So
Yeah.
it's sort of a combination, really, honestly, Jocelyn. Does it feel safe? Does it feel alive? Does it feel like the person has the professional background that you're looking for, and also that
Mhm.
the full permission to say, oh, thanks so much, you're fabulous, but I'm not going to hire you. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like we need to be
Absolutely.
that free in all parts of our life. So I want that for my clients. I want it for everybody all the time, 24/7.
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel like the energy walking into that, you want to know that you can talk to that person in confidence. You know you're going to learn from them. You're going to be teaching them things about the work that you're doing. And I love the aspect of making sure that they are going to push you. Nobody is going to grow in their business or in life with someone that's always telling them, "Oh yeah, you're doing great." Okay, but what are the steps that I should be progressing? How can I keep pushing that envelope to keep growing and to
Yeah,
keep evolving? I think
yeah,
that definitely is a key part of any kind of working relationship that you should have.
yeah.
Um,
And it
and
includes, I just would say it includes experimentation, it
yes,
includes risk,
mhm,
it includes curiosity,
yes,
and then action, honestly.
absolutely. And so going into really kind of the business side of things, have you had to kind of rethink the way that you lead these salons or lead workshops that you normally would do in person, keeping it on a virtual? What is a couple ways that you keep them interactive and engaged through those calls?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's interesting. On the one hand, I try to do very much like I would do if we were in person.
Hmm.
And I use, like our great friend Rick Tamlin, whom we share in common. I
Yeah.
use props, I use readings, I use my own energy. I'm committed to making this space alive.
Yeah.
Which is I mean, it's critical in any room, and it's really, really critical in a Zoom space.
Yes.
So that's a piece of it, and it's like, yeah, I think also there's a concept of risking on behalf of other people's learning. So I will fool around. I will do things that other people don't do in Zoom spaces, just to play with the energy and to kind
Mhm.
of open up the space. Like, really, everything is possible. Like, things
Absolutely.
are possible in this Zoom room that we've never even thought of because we're not used to being in Zoom rooms.
Hmm.
We know what normal looks like if we're all in a conference room together. We
Yes.
have a little bit of a very flat, I think, one or two dimensional normal in the Zoom space. And
Hmm.
I think that's way too limiting, personally.
Yes. Well, and I think the biggest thing is people are going to remember the experience. They're
Mhm.
going to remember just how they felt in the moment
Exactly.
with that, which doesn't have to be limited to only being in person.
No.
And with Zoom now we have this amazing platform that you can that has all these functions updating every time. So you now have the little reaction emojis that you can do and keep it interactive. And I was on a call the other day and they had all of these funny filters. So you could have these funny glasses, you could have all these wigs. And I was like, oh, well,
Right.
that's something to make it fun. Like, how can we spin that into what we're doing and the topic we're talking about? Like, what color wig really represents your energy today. And so everybody had all these different colored wigs on, and I
Exactly.
thought it was great because it also made us all laugh. It kind of lightened the moment to,
Exactly.
instead of it being like all about learning, here's our timeline for the day.
Yeah.
Yes, I think it's important to have that structure, but to have that balance too with the energy and engagement of the room, and being
Yeah.
able to also know how to gauge that energy with those who are in the room with you.
Yeah. And I wanted to say something about that because I've mentioned, fooling around and joy. And, I'm a big stand for joy. I am that girl. I come from the coactive, you know,
Hmm.
space. So naturally energetic. But at the same time, this intimate space includes the whole of the human being. So it's like
Hmm.
in our rooms, our laugh, welcome. We all have our mics on. We are all live on, visually.
Yeah.
We laugh, we cry, all the things
Hmm.
that would happen in a room happen here. And we can pick up on them and be with each other in it. Yeah.
Yes.
So I just want to mention the whole range of the human being gets to show
Yeah.
up in a room. And I'm laughing because in badass sager salons, um, you know, the women who are drawn to this, I've had women who are in their mid to late 40s, but often it's like 50s, 60s, 70s, like that.
Hmm.
And um, so all of this experimentation with technology, I mean, like, I don't mean to be, I'm an old dog. This is a new trick. It's all this wonderful, like risk taking and
Hmm.
trying and learning new things. And frankly, that is really good for us. You
Yes.
know, that's the opposite of the same old, same old.
Hmm. Having that eagerness to really continue to learn and explore new things, have that adventurous kind of energy and spirit
Yeah.
around it. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. The salon that we're in the middle of right now is called the Badass Sager Winter Adventure Salon.
I
And
love
it's just
that.
called a salon because that's way more fun than a group or a
Yes.
program, or you know what I'm saying. Like let's make it a place we want to go to and hang out in with each other,
Yes.
meeting each other right there.
Well, and I love playing with the language of it, because for someone who's not used to being in this space and hearing that language all of the time, it gives a little bit of that intrigue of, oh, what is this?
Yeah.
I kind of want to just see, dip my toes in and see what is this all about, and getting that experience packaged within it.
Yeah, that's so great. I realize I would like to say that the creative name happened in a brainstorming session with our friend Rick Tamlin. Um,
Mhm.
but it's a really good one because
Yes.
badass has energy and it involves
Hmm.
action. And and it's not a bad word. It is an edgy word,
Yes.
like big articles have been written, Jimmy Carter is a badass. It's like really
Hmm.
people who are up to and doing really good things. Um, yeah, in service of something greater than ourselves, right? That's badass.
Yes.
Up to good in service of something. Sager is interesting because that's we weren't born yesterday. That
Hmm.
means that we have some wisdom, some knowing, some rooting, some grounding that absolutely really serves us. A little bit like what matters most, a little bit more the ability to sort that out. And so when you pair badass and sager together, that's really powerful. Like badass spans any age.
Of
Sager
course.
speaks a little bit to the wisdom. And
Hmm.
certainly there are people your age, you know what I mean? Like, I don't mean that only old, people who are 50 and older hold wisdom, but it is the conscious marrying, or not marrying, but pairing of both
Hmm.
of those things, which is
Well,
powerful.
and I think that it's great to have that group of women who are from all generations, because they
Yeah.
all had different experiences that they bring to the
Mhm.
table, and all of the learnings that they've had from that. And it's just one of the things that I enjoy, especially networking, is just hearing how other people approach things,
Yeah.
and learning the steps that they started from to where they are now is
Mhm.
intriguing for me. And so I love that you have a group that encompasses all of that and is cool just in general. I love the name. and the energy around that as well. What inspired you to really want to move into starting this group, Badass
Ah,
Agers?
uh-huh. Well, kind of back in the early pandemic, it's like, so on the one hand, it's like, it's just something I would like to be part of. So that's just like a
Yes.
mic drop right there. But in the early pandemic, it was like, okay, I'm home.
Mm-hmm.
I want to continue to be having positive impact in the world. I'm not leading, I'm not coaching over there in that kind of organizational space right now,
Yeah.
um, live, real time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it was like and honestly, Jocelyn, it was a little bit of fooling around myself. Like, I wonder what would happen. Like, taking a risk myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think I want to create this thing. I'm going to throw it out there in the world. I am going to see what happens. And what happened was a whole group of people came in and said, "Yes, I want that. Yes, I want that. That's what I've been looking for." And that was, oh, I don't know, at least a year and a half ago, whenever that early pandemic was, when everything shut down, you
Yes.
know? And so, that just sort of launched it. So frankly, an experiment, like me,
Mm-hmm.
myself, taking a risk, seeing what happens. But it was a risk in service of being able to continue to have positive impact in the world. That was my goal. I was home in my house.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also a pretty creative, artsy person, so it's like, here's a way to do something that to me sounded really fun and interesting and high impact, that
Yeah.
that gave me permission to show up and create.
Mm-hmm.
Have to, right? Show up and
Yeah.
create every single week in service of this group of people, whom
Yeah.
I, of course, love.
And I think that's fantastic. And I think what a lot of people may not realize is that there's so many creative things that can come just from your experiences in your day to day. What came up when you opened the newspaper that day? What came up when you were drinking your coffee out by, you know, sitting outside? There's a lot of different experiences that spark that creativity
Yeah.
and figuring out what we can create from that and
Mhm.
share with others. And I love
Yeah.
that you bring in the impact and the positivity, because I think right now, especially with where the world is, positivity is something that we need a lot more of,
Mhm.
and that humanity piece. And I
Yep.
think that's all encompassed in the work that you do. Um, so, how can our viewers that are either listening live right now with us today or watching this back, how can they connect with you?
Well, I know you have your things that you're gonna thank you, Jocelyn.
Yes.
If you go to my website, which is Lynn dash young.com, that's a great place to begin. And that's where it's kind of the home base. And I, sign up for my newsletter. And also in there, just, reach out to me directly. You can do it right there on my website. Also, I'm on Facebook, Lynn Young Coaching. There's a Facebook page, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, really whatever is your favorite way. The main thing is to take action. Like,
Yes.
if anybody listening really wants to connect with me, I would say, don't think about it, don't wonder, don't mull it over, just like reach out and click and then see what happens.
Yeah.
Knowing that you're in the driver's seat always, of course. But just see what happens.
I love that. It's kind of it's a new adventure that you're diving into.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And no matter what, I love to, I mean, obviously I love people. That's my whole life, like
Yes.
the whole career has been that human potential, people, lives that are juicy and fulfilling. That's me.
Yes.
Um, so no matter what happens as a byproduct of the connection, I guarantee that it will be a positive experience for the person who reaches out.
That's incredible. And as Lynn mentioned, I did add all of those links for you to connect with her in the chat. So make sure you check out, follow her on social media so you can get all of those updates, especially on her upcoming salons that she'll be launching as well. Visit the website so you can learn a little bit more about Lynn and how you can work with her and connect. Any last advice that you'd like to give our
Um,
audience today?
Oh, Jocelyn, love it. First of all, props to Jocelyn because Jocelyn is a great one for getting stuff done. For
Thank you.
using your great gifts to just like go for it. So I just really want to say thank you and props to you.
Oh, thank you.
But last advice is, I just really invite you, me, every single human being on the planet, child, elder, it doesn't matter, to
Mhm.
just live as freely as possible. And know that, it's like if you feel stuck, if you feel stagnant, if you feel a little depressed, if you feel a little bit like, I don't know, all of that's a normal part of the human experience. Like everybody feels that. Jocelyn does. I mean, I'm making that up for you, but I do. Everybody has that.
Yes.
The point is you don't have to stay there. The
Mhm.
point is there's just great resources. So that full permission to live your life wildly, freely, there are no rules in life. We're not getting any younger. This day is precious. Go for
Mhm.
it.
I love that. Thank you so much, Lynn, for
Mm.
joining us today. It was a pleasure to talk to you and honor the good work that you are doing and the impact that you are sharing with all of those out there. Again, make sure you do check out her social media and her website to learn a little bit more and connect with her. And I want to say thank you to everyone who has joined me through this series with all of our amazing guests. And we'll see you soon. Have a great
Fabulous.
day.
Thanks. Take care. Thanks, Jocelyn. Bye.
You're welcome.